Namaste, everyone, and greetings from Qimpro Foundation. Welcome to episode 20 of our, show, the Qualtist Show, where we invite distinguished and featured qualitists to share their quality journey, their views about quality, and also their views about future of quality and how we can learn from that. Today is one such show, 20th in the series, and we have a very distinguished speaker on the panel. We will get to that, but a quick reminder, this show is now this time live also on Qimpro TV, our new YouTube channel, freshly rebranded and repaired, I can say, channel. So if you are watching this from our YouTube channel, please don't forget to subscribe so that you can get further alerts on the show on Qimpro TV. It is also, of course, live on the LinkedIn platform under my profile, which we will very soon be moving to Qimpro profile once some changes are made. So that's some quick basic. If you are on either of these channels, which is I'm just checking whether they are both live. I can see them live, but better proof. What better proof than you telling me that you are live on LinkedIn and Qimpro TV, and let me know where you are from. If you have a quick question for us or a quick greeting for our guest, please drop in. Meanwhile, I'll get going with the show. So Saurabh, thank you very much. So this means that the LinkedIn feed is working. Always good to test any IT thing before we go live. So thanks a lot. The very quick, some quick note on what we are doing here, what we are trying to do here. As part of Qimpro Foundation's activities to promote and popularize quality and related topics, this is a series where we invite featured, distinguished quality professionals. We call them qualitists, and in a moment I'll share why, and learn from them. Right. So the show is, of course, free to attend, and our request from you is that if you like the show, please do share it around with like-minded people so that the message of quality and the importance of quality can travel further than the people that already have. So a little bit about the word qualitist itself. It was first proposed by Dr. J.M. Juran in his last books around the world history of quality. And then in India, our guru and mentor Suresh Lula sir, he has been living this word and trying to promote it further. With that, I will invite my partner in crime, Balaji Reddy, himself a very prominent quality professional, to quickly co-host and go live with me. Namaste, Balaji. Anything in quick opening? We have two stars on the show today, so our job is actually to speak less and to hear more. But
I know,
anything you
I
want?
know. Yeah, first of all, good to see you again. This is the 20th show, but I have missed two of them. One of them because I was in a flight, and the other one because I was a victim of favoritism. Anyway,
We'll
just
settle
kidding.
that later.
But
Yeah.
we'll settle that later. No, but it's good to be back. It was I did watch the interview with Dawn, so it was nice. But yes, it's great to have our guest today. And of course, we are also happy that Suresh Lulla sir is joining us. And, it's rare that he comes. He just comes in once in a while, and getting to meet him and hearing to him speak, because, it's worth another year of knowledge that you get from him, just to listen to him speak. And also today's date is on today's 26th of Feb, and 28th of Feb, 15 years ago, Dr. Juran left the land of the living. But I think he's been with us. And so we're carrying this forward. And it's only fitting that you said that the term qualitist was, coined by him. And I think recently one of the ASQ videos featuring the CEO, current CEO of Juran Institute, Joseph DeFeo, he made a mention. He said qualitist. And he said, I don't know how many people use this term. And I wanted to jump in and interrupt and tell him that we in India have a title. We actually, people have to earn that title, the qualitist. So yeah, so that's great. So let's bring in Suresh sir, the reason why we are all here. Uh, we've not seen him also around. I think, oh, here he is. Morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Anshuman. Good morning,
Morning, sir.
Balaji.
Morning, sir.
I hope you behave well today, both of you. Ravi is a gentleman. You just
We
don't
will,
have to
we will,
needle
we will
him.
try. We
And
will
we are
try.
terrorists.
I've stayed sober all week only for this show today. So
I've known Ravi for almost 2 decades. And the qualities that can best describe Ravi are living life based on principle driven values. I learned all this traveling with him and adopting quality improvement as a way of life. It doesn't need to be only in an organization, it needs to be everywhere. The other lesson I learned from him is how to build assurance into insurance. Maybe he can talk more about that because in my jargon or Durant's jargon, that would be quality planning is assurance and insurance is quality control. So let him explain that. We've also interacted on the IMC Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Award platform. And I think it was the first organization that from insurance that participated in the competition. He's an evangelist for quality improvement and performance excellence. And I must say, Ravi walks his talk. With that introduction, I return to Anshuman.
thank you very much, sir. Welcome to the show, Ravi sir. And any opening comments or anything you wanted to share as we get going with the show?
Yeah, good morning, all of you, and especially Dr. Lulla for the praise showered on me. I would say that I'm quite humbled by that, and seem to be somewhere in the middle rung of quality from all the journeys that I've taken. And I must say that my quality journey started off very much earlier, somewhere in 91 or 92, much before I came to the city of Bombay and met Dr. Lulla somewhere in 2010 11. I think it started off with corporate lending. Very funny. We all talk of back offices for process quality. It started off in corporate lending where I was lending to a lot of vehicle ancillary units. And we used to look at the balance sheet, static ratios like the current ratio and the debt equity ratios, and decide that this company will do very well. And we used to lend money. But then I used to think while I wrote the notes that this company will never fail. And I used to say that in my notes also. But then in 2 years, I used to find that the same company, which I said would never fail, failed miserably, and my loan went for a toss, and I had non-performing assets. And the first tryst with quality started there. I started seeing what went wrong, and very funnily, it was not the ratios were secondary. I think the first thing that went wrong was quality. And the second thing, and the most important thing that went wrong, was the leadership's total absence or total ignorance to quality. All that they took the supplier for granted, they took the distributor for granted, and they took the buyer for granted. And what went wrong was quality, right from the point of the supplier to the manufacturing to the buyer. So I saw this peculiarity of quality going wrong, and what was not covered in typically credit lending notes was they covered a lot of balance sheets, they covered a lot of ratios, current ratios, but they never looked at the product, finish of the product. That is when my tryst with quality started. Later on, I switched my job to a different company, and here there's no harm in mentioning the company. It moved from SBI to ICICI Bank, from credit lending to retail banking. There I saw quality in a different perspective. We were the last private sector bank to enter Bangalore, so we had no differentiator. Everybody offered an ATM. All private sector banks offered an ATM. All private sector banks looked very glamorous inside. So what is it that we could offer? Then somebody told me they will offer service as a differentiator. Right? It's very easy to say this. Every all private sector banks, the front counter people do smile at the customer, do say thank you to the customer, do ask him what more do you need? What is service? And then we discovered it was not about those smiles. It was the back of those smiles, the processes that resided, which kind of made the smiles very embarrassing later on. The guy used to smile and say, sorry, I really want to help you, but I can't help because my process went for a toss. I must say that these two instances I get immediately into my mind. One where a corporate sustainability went for a toss because the product they manufactured never went through the quality checks. And the second is service as a differentiator went for a toss because service was not about smiling for the customer or talking graciously to the customer, but the back end processes which nobody bothers about, but they were the most ugly ones. However, the front counters used to hide those processes used to glare up and used to look so ugly in front of the customer. I must say that these two instances were the beginning of my quality journey. That I thought that if I am going to work for the service industry, I have to marry quality. And I married quality about 8 years after I married my wife. So I discovered that quality, if I don't
Don't
marry,
say
my
that.
professional life will never work. And I thought if I have to go on my professional life, I have to take quality as the key differentiator between what somebody else walks through and what I walk through. I must pause at this point.
No,
Pardon
no,
me?
perfect. Perfect opening, Ravi sir. The, the this in a way kind of is an overview. Like we always ask our guests that how did they actually stumble into quality? Some chose quality, some stumbled into it, some had an accident into quality, but everybody made a conscious choice once they landed that this was the path to pursue, and that is the common theme that we see in all our qualities till now, and you have only reinforced that. But for our audience, although uh, Ravi sir is quite well known in these circles, but I would like to quickly do the formal justice of introducing you, sir. So Ravi Krishnamurthy is, of course, many of you know, is serving as the president of operations and IT at SBI Life Insurance. He's here more as a quality professional of repute and of cross industry experience, right? So, but formally he works for SBI Life and holds key responsibility at as a top management leader for critical functions like technology and end-to-end insurance services, including the legal functions. So, more than 20 plus years. He already gave you a little background into starting with SBI, then ICICI, then back at SBI Life, and currently looks at all underwriting, claims, risk management, and those kind of, including marketing, operations, and um has experience in technology as well. So we've already shared, his stint with SBI and ICICI Bank, and highly respected in these financial services sector, and has led SBI Life to success in various aspects of leadership, including the prestigious INC Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Award and the world-class title in Asia Pacific Quality Organization APQA Global Excellence Award as well, which is highly reputed and respected. Both these awards. He is a PGDBM from NM, which is Nursing Institute in Mumbai, and certified by Institute of Bankers and multiple other certifications, including from Columbia University. Fellow of the Institute of Directors and several other organizations. Completely believes that he believes in work towards promoting inner well-being and societal support, and also a volunteer for the Isha Foundation. So, very well-rounded personality, like I shared, but and here today as a quality professional amongst his many avatars. So I will quickly, Ravi sir, request you to summarize. How did you get into quality? Though you gave an overview answer, and then we will get into the some specific questions. How did you discover quality, and if you can add, how did you discover Mr. Lalla himself? Though he said that we've been working for 20 years, but what is that story?
Well, that story starts where I started off with corporate lending and then went to a different private sector bank where I had to battle with service as a differentiator. And I remember Dr. Deming talking about breaking barriers between departments and institutionalizing leadership in quality. These two sentences of Dr. Deming stuck in my mind until I moved into the back office of ICICI Bank, and we had an opportunity to actually implement them, Dr. Deming's principles, the 14 principles of Dr. Deming. That was an opportunity for us. And there was an opportunity because BCG was consulting for us, and they recommended that all the processes in the branches need to move to a central processing center. Those were not the days where, apart from multinational banks, most of processes used to reside in two places. Part of the process used to reside in the branch, and part used to reside in the central processing center. So always there used to be barriers between the central processing center and the branch, and the branch was never able to commit to a customer about quality because they were never sure which leg is going to get screwed up, whether the branch is going to screw up their own process or the central processing center. So, firings used to go around that you did it. I wanted to give this, but you never helped me. You were supposed to give me this particular part of the process. So it was very interesting for me when I was in ICICI Bank, Bangalore. When I went to Bombay to actually set up the back office of ICICI Bank, I found that one of the basic issues in most processes is we don't break down the processes into steps. We don't have the courage to break it down. I would say that it's not about breaking down. We don't have the courage to break down the very process that we created. Most of the processes are created by human beings working for the companies. And how to break that process and admit that this process is lousy today, it was very useful yesterday, but it is redundant today. And then to break the barriers, as Dr. Deming says, that's the most difficult one because nobody wants to lose ownership of processes. And nobody wants to take ownership of the other department's process. So these are peculiarities. So we took over the processes. When we had to take over the process from the branch said, look, yeah, I was controlling all this process. I was able to commit to the customer. Now you guys are going to take over to a central processing place. So what control I have on the process to be able to commit to the customer? So the first challenge for us was at a leadership level. So I would say that Dr. Deming is very correct when he says institute quality in leadership. At a leadership level, we had the big challenge that we were taking over a part of the process from the branch and saying branch is a selling unit. It's not a servicing unit. It's a selling unit. The process unit will move to the central processing center and we'll take over the entire process, break down the barriers between departments and give back the process delivery and the outcome back to the branch so that the branch is able to offer it back to the customer. This was one challenge for the leadership level. So at a leadership level, we have to convince the branch that by taking over this process, we are going to take over the customer to customer process. We have this favorite idiom in the bank used to say that always think of customer to customer because customer asks for something and the delivery goes back to the customer. So the entire process was taken over by us. We broke them down into several steps. We decided which processes will get automated, which will get automated tomorrow, which will get automated 1 year later, and then deliver the complete output back to the branch. So there was a lot of leadership challenge of commitment assurance. The second challenge was always we used to believe that everything will go right. But then in 3 to 6 months after taking over the processes, we found that it was not going right the way we envisaged because either training was wrong or some automation was failing or some customer's own exceptional process was not anticipated. For example, a customer came to open a bank account. We opened the bank account. After 3 days, he used to come and say that I want to change the nominee. After 3 days. Now in 3 days, the process is still not complete and the guy wants to change his nominee. We were not prepared for it. Second is, customer came back and said that the spelling in my bank account is not proper. Because we never envisioned that there will be a small unit in the end-to-end delivery which will make a mistake while typing the name of the customer. We thought that this guy will type it properly, but when it came to scale, he was not able to type. Again, it comes to one more pointer. that we always put the corporate leadership is always not bothered about quality. They assume it will happen. And the corporate leadership is saying we want to grow by 30% next year. Again, contradicting Dr. Deming's principles. We want to grow 30% volume next year. We want to deliver bank accounts instead of 3 days in 1 day. So all targets being set and management principle by objectives. So the top line would definitely happen, 30% growth will happen, but the bottom line never used to happen because we used to waste a lot in our processes, we used to be very clumsy in our processes, and most importantly, exception processes are never created. So we started thinking that when you create processes, you also have to start thinking of what will go wrong, and those exceptional processes, how do we do it? Sometimes the customer could be wrong. He'll say, boss, I made a mistake by putting the spelling in my bank account number. Are you going to punish me for that? I made a mistake, now you correct it. So we used to then we started preparing ourselves for what can go wrong and what are the various exception processes that we need to create both at the CPC and at the call center. So when a customer calls a call center, how does the call center help him? So it was a humongous job of not only managing quality but also managing scale. As I mentioned in my first avatar in State Bank, 30% growth in turnover was easy, but 30% growth in turnover, retaining accuracy was the most difficult part. Retaining quality was the most difficult part. So that is how my trust in quality continued into the ICICI Bank Central Processing Center. And in 3 years, we delivered a lot more than what we expected, not by only institutionalizing turnover times and accuracy times and zero defect. We did more than that. We created awareness in leadership. And when the leaders became aware, we could gain more than what we normally thought. Because it's easy to block the front line and say, please type the account number properly, please type the name properly. We must give this customer the checkbook in 2 days. That's very easy to say. But the more difficult part is what does the leadership take on? What do I take on? What challenge do I take on? If there are mistakes, how do I allow the subordinate team without fear to report defects? This is another thing. Why leadership is important is the leadership must create the space that the team below reports the defect that they themselves created back to the superior. Say, look, I made this mistake. So the fear of we had to eliminate the fear of reporting. We had to remove the obstacles between departments. We had to make the processes seamless, irrespective of the fact that there are 10 departments handling it or 5 departments handling it. Then came 2004, I quit ICICI Bank, a well-organized, professional, leadership-oriented, quality organization, and I moved to SBI Life, of a small fledgling organization where Dr. Juran comes in. He spoke about stakeholders, and one stakeholder he spoke about was distributor. And insurance is distributed. It's not like bank where the customer comes to the bank and he opens an account. At least till 2004, it was like that. Subsequently, distributors came into the bank account opening also. But insurance was highly distributed. So we had to bring quality to a distributor who is not an employee of the insurance company. He's an outsider. He may be distributing insurance in the morning, evening, he may be opening a tea stall and selling tea. Because he's an agent. Now, how do you ensure that the agent gives the quality to the end customer so that the product that I have devised, the product that I have designed really goes back to the customer in the way that I have designed? So here we bring in the third element. How do you coach a distributor who's not full-time with us, but yet he becomes a part of us? This is a big challenge for me because coming from banking to insurance, the biggest change I went through is, here guy, there's one more person here who's a part-time employee of my company. He's not even a part-time employee, and he's a stakeholder, an important stakeholder, because if the distributor messes it up, no matter how well the product is designed, no matter how well I priced it, I will get a bad name in the industry. So for 5 years I struggled until I met Dr. Suresh Lulla. And then I had a chat with him, and then he recommended that we should go for the Ravi Krishnamurthy Bajaj National Quality Award. And then after the journey changed, because what happens in Ravi Krishnamurthy Bajaj National Quality Award as well as the Best Practices Award of the Qualitist, these two awards gave us different dimensions of quality. Because we realized that asking certain probing questions and answering by the entire collective leadership gives a more collective awareness to the organization. During Ramkrishna Bajaj Quality Award, in fact, we never took on the award to win an award. Frankly, it was not like those Golden Peacock Awards. Mostly those awards are meant for awards. We took on the award, as Dr. Lulla will very well remember, and Maya Desai also from Ravi Bajaj said, this award is not for the purpose of buying an award. It was more for understanding ourselves. And what happened was the questions that were framed in the Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Framework, that attracted us a lot. We said these are the lacunas we are facing, because the leadership does not understand how to align our stakeholders, how to align our frontline sales force to the cause of quality. And insurance is a highly aggressive selling process. A highly aggressive selling process because it is still pushed to the customer. Customer never comes and buys insurance. Unlike in the West. I keep saying in the West, the customer thinks that I will die, so he buys insurance. In India, the customer thinks everybody except me will die. So how do you get such a person to buy insurance? So insurance is sold in a very aggressive way. To expect quality from them naturally is difficult. So we started thinking on the framework of the Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Award, and the entire leadership got together and everybody collectively wrote the answers to that question. The collective writing of the answers is the most important part, friends, because we write collectively, we start thinking, do I do this? Do I actually do this? It's nice to answer it or nice to give a fake reply, but do I actually do it? So when I started probing ourselves, the first framework, we lost the award. We didn't get it because we were on the top of the hill, the number one private life insurance company, everything, but we lost the award. And then my then MD came and said, it's good you lost it. Because now you realize that your number one is not sustainable. And the word sustainability first time came into my mind and connected me to my 91 corporate lending framework, where I also said the company's growth is not sustainable. Now somebody else is saying our quality is not sustainable. And my MD said, apply again. Take it as your challenge. After 1 year of rework of your quality framework in the leadership group and your frontline group and your mid office group. We spent a lot of time, more than 1 year, perhaps I think 2013 we applied after 2 years gap, knowing well that we had moved up the hierarchy of quality. And I think from there, I'm very proud to see that this company has taken quality as a very important framework, and we have been regularly applying for best practices also. Because why best practices is important is for processes to become seamless. IT has become very important. Technology has become very important. And therefore, best practices, innovation, ideation have become very, very important in today's framework. And the way, in fact, it has moved from process re-engineering to IT coding re-engineering. And people have started working on secure development processes, how to make coding defect-free. Because if the coding is full of defects, no matter how well you re-engineer your process, you will have a whole lot of defects in the final output. And we spent a lot of time in the Ramakrishna National Quality Award, then the Best Practices Award of the Qualitist Club. And today it has become, quality has become a journey for us. And I'm very happy that I am a part of that journey, constantly learning, constantly educating ourselves in the process of how to make our customer happier. And therefore, as Dr. Deming says, quality and improvement is a constant trial. It's not over until you can never say that I won the Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Award, so my quality journey is complete. We keep on trying, and improvement becomes a constant journey altogether. This is what I thought. This is how my quality journey has progressed. It has moved up to a plateau. It is yet to mature. Now my goal is how to make it sustainable, how to make quality framework sustainable in organization, because such companies will not fail. Companies which are swearing in by sustainability, the companies which are using governance as a platform for monitoring quality, not management as a platform. There's a lot of difference between the two. Management of quality and governance have a lot of difference. Management of quality happens at a mid-manager level. Leadership of quality comes at a leadership level. Governance of quality comes from the director level. And at a director level, when it happens, the most important part is that whether quality is a framework in your organization or is it just another department, like risk department, audit department, quality department. Do you have it as one small department, or governance, the quality framework itself is governed through independent directors. And then I can say corporate sustainability, the word corporate sustainability which is used again and again in the industry, then it becomes a reality.
Sure. Thank you very much, sir. I think very well connected and journey, and now we know why Mr. Lula thinks so highly of you. So
Yes.
we should have known earlier, but now we are well educated. But Balaji, you normally have your favorite question around what ails the quality profession today. So over to you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, before I just take it ahead, I mean, always, I think every year when Suresh Lulla sir used to have the Qualtech Award, Suresh Lulla sir, this is a reminder, Qualtech Awards. All right. So I always had to choose between manufacturing and service, and I always deliberately chose service because being, from the manufacturing field all my life, I always wanted to see the challenge of implementing quality principles in the service sector and to see how well Ravi sir has articulated what we meant by this. And I think he put it all together by saying that it's one thing called, management by quality, and there's another thing called implement, where there's governance of quality. So he's taken it to the next level. Now, sir, you literally, we normally ask the questions in a kind of a evolutionary way, that where did you start, and you just about answered whatever we wanted to know. Now, you just made a statement right now that, sustaining all of that, sustenance has become a new thing in quality. But as a profession, if someone were to be getting into the quality profession right now, one, what would be your advice to that person if he's getting into the profession? And what is the state of the quality profession itself? So, two parts to this question. One, what would be your advice to a person who's getting into the quality profession now? And second, what is the state of the profession itself?
So I would say that it should, for a young qualitist who's coming into the journey, the first journey I would say is the ISO standards, because they are relatively simpler standards, but they give you a good startup. They help us to understand quality at a ground level, where you look at standardization of processes. As Dr. Deming constantly says, consistency is a very critical aspect of quality. And therefore, consistency requires standardization of processes, and therefore ISO becomes a very good, stable platform to start with. Thereafter, I would recommend becoming an examiner for Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Award, because I do not know, wherever an employee is working, whether the organization really is very keen to go for that award in the first place. So it is better that you become the quality ambassador by becoming a Ramakrishna Bajaj National Quality Award examiner. Maybe first attempt you become, later on some 8-10 people in the organization become, at some point in time leaders go for that examination, and at some point in time the company decides, let's apply for it. So therefore, there is a lot of pride in quality, that you started off at ISO level and slowly, infused awareness among your bosses, super bosses, and one fine day the organization decided to apply for it. So you have the pride of workmanship, the pride that at the bottommost level, at the entry when I'm starting my career, I started off on quality, and in 5 years, 7 years, I built the awareness in my leadership, and today my organization is applying for the Ramakrishna Bajaj National. The second aspect of quality is to be part of innovation and ideation. Whatever organizations, different organizations have ideation council, different organizations have innovation council. Be a veritable part of it, because no organization is going to survive on standard processes alone. I mentioned about ISO, but that's the beginning. Organization's agility and organization sustainability in today's atmosphere is going to depend on what kind of ideation and innovation constantly happens in that organization, what kind of culture and ecosystem that we create for ideation. I must mention that some of the wonderful things that we do, for example, in my own organization, a customer wants to surrender his policy. We won't tell him don't surrender. And then we have a tool which helps us to produce an output, and that output is produced, and then he understands from an output that if I were to surrender, I would have got so much money. If I retained my policy, I would have got after 5 years so much money. Second thing is, in innovation is, distributors tend to roll over the policy by selling a policy and after 2 years asking him to prematurely surrender the policy and go for another policy. We educate distributors that how does the duration of a policy actually benefit him? How does it benefit him, for example? It helps him because the longer the portfolio of a policy, the better is the incentive for him. So we directly link him to the incentives and the income that he generates. And that's how we are able to create awareness with him. So innovation, ideation help us to align the stakeholder and the distributor and the customer back to the company with different kinds of tools. Of course, we always think innovation means IT and technology. Not always. Sometimes innovation could be only changing the reward and the incentive structure of a distributor. As simple as that could bring huge change in the alignment because he aligns himself to what the leadership thinks. Your leadership wants long-term portfolio. But how do you get that distributor to think the way you are thinking? If you want longer duration portfolio and the distributor is thinking that I'll roll over this policy and get this customer to surrender this policy and again buy a new policy, then it's not going to work out. Howsoever well you are aligned to ISO 9002, 10002, whatever, and howsoever well you have won the Ramkrishna Bajaj National Quality Award, you're not going to sustain the Ramkrishna Bajaj Award. See, remember that award or a best practices award is given for a particular point of time. It is static for the achievement in the past, but it's not dynamic to say that this organization will sustain itself over the next decade. And for that, institutionalizing leadership, institutionalizing quality in leadership is important because quality framework in the leadership will align the stakeholders and the distributor back to the leadership so that the goals of the shareholder are met by the leadership by aligning the distributor and the frontline sales manager and the customer to the goals of the shareholder and to the goals of the product that has been designed. A product has been designed to give the customer rewards over a period of 7 years, 10 years. So if that is the product that is designed, my job as a leadership is to make sure that the customer and the distributor understand that only if you retain this policy for 7 years, the product that they designed for you will work in your favor. So alignment of the bottom to the leadership goals is also a very important responsibility of leadership. And there, at early stage, when a person joins a company, he can go through the journey by participating in innovation. And I would also recommend, last of all, that becoming a certified qualitist is also a very important objective, very important ambition for an employer. Because I did this certified quality. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised when somebody told me I've been awarded this. I did this award during the COVID period. Much later, after I won the Ramkrishna Bajaj and everything for the company, there was no need for me. Then suddenly I had an opportunity to speak to Dr. Lulla, and then in 2020 or 19, I decided around COVID time we had a lot of spare time. I said, why don't I go through this process? And I was quite surprised that going through this process gave me a lot more learning than what I got through the entire decade of doing RBN QA and other things. So in any way, I think for young people doing a certified qualitist is also a good achievement because it helps a person to do ideation. You do a small case study of your own organization, and during that process, you understand a lot more about quality and what all things we did without knowing that it is for quality.
Sure.
Great. So
Great.
that's the state of quality. You feel that leadership still ails. I mean, the sense that the top leadership needs to drive the whole process inside a company, but the initiation should be done through the ISO standards. I mean, that's what I gather from what you're saying, and I think that makes absolute sense. Right, Anshuman?
Absolutely. I think it may be a good point also to remind everybody, and that very briefly toward the end of his response, Ravi sir mentioned about the certified qualitist
Qualitist.
credential, right? So those of you in the audience interested, or those who will watch this video later on, uh, and are interested in the whole process, I'm flashing the name of the website, qimpro.org, Qimpro, Qimpro.org, where all this information is available. So in case you also want, you are inspired by what Ravi sir shared about certified qualitist and want to uh, apply, you can get all the required information here. And in case you don't find this, you can always reach out to Balaji, myself, or if required, Mr. Lulla himself. We do want this tribe to grow, and it is a credential that you earn. So yeah, I would strongly urge that if you want to try, please consider this. We had limited time with Ravi sir today, so we will probably end the show a little before the usual time of 1 hour. But and may not have a lot of time for audience questions. But I certainly have a question that we normally reserve for all distinguished quality professionals, sir. I'll split it up a little bit. One, uh, how do you think the future of quality is shaping up? And maybe let me limit it to this only. How do you think the future of quality is shaping up? What is likely to happen? What is your view? Um, we will stop short of asking for predictions, but what is your view about future of quality, and
So,
so that the audience can decide a little bit based on.
let me not sound pessimistic, but let me genuinely sound realistic. On a scale, if you take the 14-point quadrant of Dr. Deming, Indian industry stands at around 20%. And the reason for that I will mention. One is, except for a few multinational institutions and some of the private banks, most of us in the industry still have lacunas which don't befit Dr. Deming's principle. What are those domains? One is fearless atmosphere. We still function on inspection and audit as the pointers for defect finding. Second, we still take quality as one of the departments. In fact, in most of the companies, risk is a department, audit is a department. I scarcely see quality as a department. Holistically oversighting or holistically governing at an MD and CEO level the entire organization's framework adaptation towards quality. This is not by any view to be pessimistic. I would say that a lot more awareness building is required. Now, what should be done to build awareness? Of course, I must say positively, process reengineering is happening in most of the companies. There is a fresh oversight happening on processes. There is a lot of exercise of quality frameworks in bits and pieces in many companies. They get left out when some people leave the company, so they are not consistent many a times. Especially that some suddenly you say 40% growth is required and everything will go helter skelter and we leave it. So those are some of the jugadu kind of Indian organizations. We still in that culture we are. So that way I'm bold enough and to say that we are around 20 to 30%. Why so? And what can be done? So I would say that 20-30% happening because most of the good work is happening at the mid managerial level. The real good work has to happen at the governance level. If we are able to take quality frameworks to the governance level, for example, the Institute of Directors, which I think Vikesh Walia is heading that. So if the Institute of Directors brings a whole chapter on quality and makes it part of the governance framework of independent directors, just think how the whole situation will change. The good work being done at the mid-manager level and the lower level will transform into a consistent framework at the governance level. And if that happens, many of the issues that we see in corporate sustainability today will vanish. So instead of going step by step, leadership level, why don't we perch quality at the governance level? Then the ecosystem and the culture of the organization will change. Then do you think organization will continue to do inspector audit? Do you think still that the organization will continue to have a fearful atmosphere of reporting defects, incident reporting? It will not happen for sure because in that case, the governance comes with a positive approach towards improving the organizations towards sustainability. And this, I think, friends, is very, very important for us because we are at the crossroads. We achieved a lot, and by any means, for Indian ecosystem to achieve 20 to 30% is not easy. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of hands and legs to work that out. But this is happening at the ground and mid managerial level, and to some extent at the leadership level. But you want this to catapult itself into a higher league, into an ecosystem of quality. And I think it has to happen at a leadership level and a governance level. this is what I feel, that the crossroads is that we need not grow quality incrementally. We can grow quality ballistically, exponentially straight away from the current level by simply perching quality as the important framework at a governance.
Got it. Sir, I'm fully aware that you wanted to leave a little earlier than our planned thing, but I'll take one question from audience, and there are
Yeah,
many
please.
questions from the audience, but everybody wants to learn from you. But Devraj, who's one of the previous certified or distinguished qualitist, featured qualitist, he's asking a question which I'll flash on the screen so that everybody can read as well. But the question is more around one of the key learnings from your session is the difference between quality management and quality governance, taking quality to the board level. As the experience on this, as the boardroom must most of the discussion happens around growth and financial metric. Do we see the boards matured enough and to have the
Uh,
view of all stakeholders?
it's a good
Anything on this?
question. I
Hmm.
must say that, lest my previous answer look pessimistic, I must say that there has started off board more looking into what do customers say about our products and processes. They do look at balance sheet, metrics of growth, etc., profitability, etc. But many board members have started looking at what do customers say about our products and what is the overall essence of the risk management framework. What is it conveying to us? What is the subtle conveyance on the maturity of our IT systems, on the maturity of our process systems? These questions have started emanating from the boards, as I see from many meetings that things have started changing in a positive manner. So I would say that this awareness about bringing quality into the board framework has already started off. And
Hmm.
why so? Because both, I think all board members come from very reputed companies. All of them understand that profit is an output, growth is an output. But what is the cost of poor quality? And how do I know the cost of poor quality? How do I get to know what is the cost of poor quality? I think the underlying processes that produce the balance sheet, the underlying processes that produce the balance sheet, how is the quality of those processes? How often are they looked at? Who who looks at it? Whether the people who produce the processes or whether the third party is looking at it. And the distinction between, at least between risk and audit, sorry, between audit and risk, that separation has started happening. Audit is giving me some information, but risk is trying to understand a quality framework. We call it risk, but I think a time will come when they will call them quality departments, because risk department is supposed to look at incidents and find out what has gone wrong. It is very similar to audit department, but I think if you reverse it, it's a quality framework of understanding how often our processes looked at and what is the quality of the processes and how often does IT intervention help the processes become shorter. After all, what are we interested in? Even in the balance sheet way, if you look at it, we want processes to become short. We want the cost of poor quality to be eliminated. We want leakages to disseminate. We want the customer to customer processes to become as short as possible. So, for all these things to happen, I think board members are actively looking at the risk framework to see whether these aspects are covered. If these aspects are covered, I think profit is a natural output. Turnover is a natural output. I
Fair
hope
enough.
I've been able to answer the question.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. And Devraj, I hope you got your answer. Thank you very much for the question. Uh, Mr. Lulla, you have anything to add? And since we are coming to the end of the show, anything to say?
Thank you, Ravi, for a very comprehensive presentation. The purpose of this certified qualitist is to elevate the profession such that it's mandatory to have a qualitist on the board. And that will go well with your governance quality. You have reinforced the power of understanding customer. Who defines quality? Customer, not standards.
Correct.
Who's your final inspector? Customer. And Ravi, who pays your salary?
Customer.
The message was loud and strong, customer focus. And you did emphasize that the foundation starts with leadership. Unless leadership has a buy in, how do they get a buy in? Through strategic planning, and strategic planning with a customer focus. Would that be correct, Ravi?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Finally, customer is your biggest inspector.
Exactly. Try running a business without a customer. Okay. With that, my part is over. Back to you, Anshuman.
Sure. Thank you very much, sir. Balaji, I think we just have enough time to pitch our question around books. Would you like to take a
Yes,
shot?
yes, yes, yes. Sir, Ravi, sir, any books?
Yes, yes.
Any books that you would like to recommend to our people watching this, even to us?
I don't remember the name of the book. I've been reading this book more into the contents. There's one book written by Debashish Sarkar, who headed the Organizational Excellence Group in ICICI Bank. I've been reading that book in the last 1 month or so, and I would recommend that book. I don't recollect the name of the book right now. It is something to do with the yes, that's the book. Little Big Things. Yes, you're right. So this book is written
So,
very well by a very respected person. I respect Debashish Sarkar for a lot of things, and then I think I respect ICC also for this, that they had a quality department directly reporting to the MD and CEO. It was quite new those days. Most organizations in India never had this, but I think Mr. Kamath had this brilliant vision that if quality has to take over, then it has to ride over the MD and CEO's shoulders. And Devashish did a lot of good job during that time. And his book I liked a lot. In fact, you can see a little bit of forward from me also in that book. That's the book which I am currently reading.
so
The other book which I
coincidentally,
always liked is, of course, Stephen Covey, for a different reason. I always believe that I did my NMIMS also in HR. Funnily, though I am a financial,
Oh,
yeah, I did it in HR rather than in finance. Reason is I believe that most of quality in organizations happen because of people, and most do not happen also because of people. So if we are able to bring a good, strong HR culture and a strong ecosystem around leadership, then quality becomes relatively easy to implement. And that's why Stephen Covey taught me a lot on leadership. He's my guru on leadership. And funnily, the book he wrote later on about trust as a basic principle. That's a lovely book.
yeah. The Eighth Habit.
fantastic. Um, Surprisingly, Ravi sir, this it is a stroke of poor quality that introduced you to me. You may not know, but Devashi sent this copy of this book to me, and the book was marked to you. The package was marked to you, but reached
Oh,
my house
really?
somehow. So
Okay.
it is a stroke of bad quality or poor quality that connected the two of us before this meeting. And I
Okay.
spoke to Devashi and said that, look, maybe just providence, keep the book. I will of course send another one to Ravi. So I don't know if my book reached you or somebody
Maybe.
else.
Maybe your book reached me. Quite possible.
I, so
The
with
moment
that,
the book reached, I didn't bother about it was addressed to me or not. I simply opened the book because I was wanting to read it badly. It was in my library for the first 2 years because of my preoccupation in many things. But this January on New Year resolve, I started reading the book.
sure. So I do remember that you wanted to you have another appointment very soon and wanted a little earlier to end the show. So with that, we will let you go. And any closing comments, Ms. Lula, or good to close?
No, I think I've said what I had to. Maybe I can add about the HR part.
Hmm.
Build quality into the HR job design. Bring it into the performance of the appraisal system, and you'll see everyone aligns. People aren't stupid. They
Yes.
focus on what they're being measured for.
Yep.
But if there's no measure of quality in your job design, then it's only extra.
Fair enough. Thank you very much, sir. So, my partner in crime, Balaji, and I are grateful, Mr. Ravi Krishnamurthy, for this fantastic session. This is a masterclass indeed. It's not very often that Balaji and I are such apt students. So, it took a great teacher to,
we
to keep
we
us
were
quiet.
warned also. We were warned by Suresh Rullas.
But jokes aside, fantastic to meet you. Of course, we would want to learn further, and maybe another opportunity where we can pose some deeper questions. And to the fantastic audience, very regular audience that Kimpro TV has. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, anybody who's watching this show, this is now available live on, and archives will be available on Kimpro TV. Please go to YouTube @Kimpro TV, Qimpro TV is the new address, and you will find all past and current episode, of course, future episodes streamed live and archived there as well. The We end the show usually with the announcement of the next show. Next show, the guest will be announced soon, but the show is highly likely to be on the last Saturday, 25th of March, which and 11 a.m. As always, we try and keep that date. So with that, thank you everyone. Thank you to my audience, and Ravi sir, definitely. Thank you very much. Fantastic session, and we'll meet again. Thank you everyone. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you
Right.
very much, all of you.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
My pleasure.